70s now. He was a big guy.
70s, I was doing concerts.
That's cool. But he was a big British rocker, keyboard player, voice. Just saw him play Beloved Flint Theater, which is in Gaudio, about 100 foot. And he had a drummer.
I'll pass that on and then
I think we're going to have a toast to the old guy.
Any of Dan's grandsons or sons or stepsons or nephews or grandparents or anything want to propose a toast?
Okay. You look like you wanted a lifeline. Call it out, right? My name is John Moulton. I'm Dan's stepson. I think it's fair if we all raise our glass to really a fine man, a very generous man, and someone who always had a kind and humorous thought to share.
Yes.
And so this one's to Dan Shields.
Dan Shields.
Oh, yeah.
That was good, Mark.
This is Gordon.
I'm his grandson on his daughter's side. Hi, Mom. Your name? Directly into the mic. So,
Yeah.
well, I've known him all my life. So, closer. I don't project. I'm sorry.
Keep going, Gordon. There you go.
One thing I remember most about him growing up was his humor and his sense of adventure. He was always willing to take me and Eric, my brother, who's over there, on adventures. We went camping and skiing. He got us into trains. He took us on the Georgetown Railroad. He took us to the train museum a lot. We spent a lot of time there. There's pictures. Somewhere there's a photo album or a slide reel of us climbing all over trains for hours. So it was that sense of adventure and humor that really is what he gave to me over time. So it's for his wonder of life is really what we should raise a toast to. For.
Hello.
You got something, Mom? You want to trade champagne or baby?
Lynn, introduce your little lady friend.
So this little one right here is 1 year and 1 week old. This is Dan Shields' great-granddaughter, Olivia.
Olivia?
She got an initial on you.
So I will say that I can honestly claim that I have known Dan Shields longer than anybody in this room. I'm not going to tell how many years, but there were a lot. I think what I love and remember the most is how our relationship evolved over those many, many, many years. When I was a little girl, I wanted to be with my dad all the time. I adored him. So Saturdays was errand day. How do you be with him on an errand day? You go along. That's how I knew the difference between a Phillips and a flathead. I knew what a ball peen hammer was for. Because he taught me how to wire, he taught me how to do carpentry, he taught me all that good stuff. Then over the years, our relationship evolved. And instead of being my dad teaching me how to use a screwdriver, he was my mentor and my confidant when we talked about business. And we had a much different relationship, but just as wonderful a relationship. And of course,
Are you going to skip the rebellion part?
no. Hey, there was the rebellion part. There was the part where he was going to ship me off to an all-girls school in the middle of Arizona so guys can't get to me. Yeah. There's some real stories going on there. So yes, we had many, many different relationships over the years. And he had a different relationship with everybody in this room. A husband, a grandfather, a great-grandfather, a friend, a confidant, sometimes a rough guy who told you those are my rocks, don't take them off my property. So here's to the many, many sides of Dan Shields.
Salud.
Ooh, she brought notes. No.
No, I stole this from Barbara. So. She gets the credit.
she did.
So I'm Laura. I am Dan's granddaughter. I am Lynn's sister Lee's daughter. Lee passed away 18 years ago. Wow, but she's here. So there's this quote that Barbara showed me today, and it really feels like it just sums up Grandpa Dan very, very well. So I just wanted to read it. Life is not a journey to the grave with the intention of arriving safely in a pretty and well-preserved body, but rather a skid and broadside, thoroughly used up, totally worn out, and loudly proclaiming, "Wow, what a ride."
Sounds like that.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Anybody else?
Hi. I am married to Gordon, and as such, it is my pleasure to say that Dan gave me the greatest blessing of my life. Not only in Gordon, who is an amazing person himself and has made such a difference to how everything works in my world, but in his entire family. Barbara, who came to fill his heart and is such a classy matriarch for our group. Lynn, who is an astounding person, an incredible role model for me in many things as my mother-in-law, and I am so lucky with the one that I got. My brother-in-law, sister-in-law, cousins. I was pretty much alone family-wise when I met Gordon. And I never, ever could have imagined the blessings of such amazing people around me. And all of that goes back to that seed. And I would like to propose a toast to the things we create which go on and on.
So my name is Madeline. Grandpa Dan. So it's a little bit of backstory. John is my uncle. My dad is William Noble, and Grandpa Dan has always been there to support me and my family in one form or another, or so I'm told, according to my mother. And in many ways, I just remember him as being, he was just all about family and all about supporting us and knowing what was going on in our lives and just wanting us to be like our better selves. So today I just want to propose a toast to a really great family man who was just always there for everyone. And yeah, that's about it.
I'd like to read one that came in an email, excuse me, from a cousin of Dan's named Casey Downing. Casey Downing. I don't offhand know anybody who would know Casey. I'm just thinking. But his family name is Downing. That was the family name of Dan's mother, so on his mother's side. Sometimes the names of the mothers get lost. So he's a Downing. And he thanked me for sending him the news and wished that he could be here, but instead he sent a little message, so I'll read it. Most of my memories of Dan occurred when he was living in Cherry Hills. I will always remember going over to the house for dinner and vacation slideshows. Anybody
Yes.
miss the point that Dan is a photographer?
What was vacation slideshows?
Vacation slideshows?
We all saw them, didn't we?
Yeah, if you were lucky, you saw them.
Yes.
And when sufficiently lubricated, wonderful renditions of classical pieces on the piano. And you know, he never played any classical after I met him.
Really?
No. So anyhow, well, maybe little scripts. He was quite the pianist. I remember great ski trips with his stepson, John.
Oh.
And if he is in attendance, please express my fond memories. Also, I got a kick out of Russell's stories about Hollywood, and I recall the Oscar that he had won. And so Oscar's important, but the guy who won it was Dan's dad, his stepfather, whom we called Dad, because he was the man who was most responsible for his interest in railroads and photography and all the things that matter to little boys who then grow up and still keep that interest. So Russell was important, and there are some pictures of him in the room. There's some in that big album by you, Linda. There's one of Russell in the swamp with hip boots of photography, because his specialty was short sports subjects that would show in the movie theaters. Short subjects about sports. So I don't know. It could have been that he was at Cypress Gardens filming. I can imagine filming the water skiers through some moss. Anyway, that's what it is. And so then he remembers us together later and going out to dinner. So I will always remember Dan with great fondness. He was an incredibly talented and intelligent gentleman who always made me feel at home. So that's a message worth reading.
Yes. Yes.
Amen.
You know, I was afraid to give a speech because I would go on forever. And you know how I do that. I just tell you one anecdote after another. So if there's anything that I can tell you that you want to know, please ask me. Let's do it that way. How's that? Jillian.
When and how did you meet?
When and how did we meet?
I think after all those lunches I would know, but I don't.
You don't know.
I don't.
Okay, some people know, they're laughing already. Back in the 80s, I had 13 very lonely years. I was attached to nobody but my store, my sailboat store. And Dan lost his second wife, Madeline, to cancer in 1986. And so there was a lively offline, real world dating service bulge at that time. It was faddish. And they latched onto this guy named Dan Shields, and they were marketing him off to all the girls. And I saw and they offered, what they did was send you a few people to consider. So I considered him, and he considered me, and we both liked some of the same things. And so we got together, and it worked really interestingly for the next 29 years.
That's very
What?
She has a question. Yeah. Is that okay?
Depends on the question.
This is Dan's granddaughter, Laura.
My question for you is, what's your favorite country that you two traveled together?
Oh, that has to be France. What's my favorite country we traveled to? Because France is where we spent the longest time, and Laura knows that because she was there with us once. And that was sort of the go-to country because we both could speak a little French. And that does a lot for your deciding where you want to go. Because we always feel more at home there. And then you can go off to Italy from there. You can go to Belgium, Holland, Germany. So anyway, that's the answer to that question. You knew the answer, didn't you? Okay. I want to encourage everybody to stay and have, if you didn't get everything to eat, I don't know whether it's all gone. No? Okay, please stay, and Ellen's going to play some more. She is, like, I need to tell you, I'm sorry, I meant to introduce you, Ellen.
It's all right.
Okay, Ellen Rucker, I hope some of you recognize her name. Ellen Rucker has been a pianist in Denver for decades. I'll stop there. And Dan and I used to love to go listen to her play, watch her play and sing. And then I put Ellen together. I mean, I asked her if she would come, of course, but I put her together with Dan's book. It's his own personal Facebook. You want to hold it up? A Facebook. Listen to that. That was a Freudian slip. It's his fake book. One letter difference. Fake book, which means he took all his favorite tunes to play on the piano. He wrote his own little charts, little head sheets where it's got the title, the chord changes, the lyrics. And he did this in the 40s when those songs were the first popular tunes.
The changes are really good.
Oh, were they good? Yeah, okay, good changes. That means that he wrote the charts well.
And he had good ears.
And he certainly, good ear. He
so much
had
later.
to create that book, didn't he? To have a good ear. It was just amazing that he never did anything formal enough with his music. The Army, somebody in the Army said, well, why don't you just play the piano and become one of the entertainment guys? And he thought, oh, I can't do that. He just wasn't clever enough to realize it would get him out of a lot of hard duty.
Yeah, really.
Well, he would have had my job. Would have had your job. I'm glad he didn't do that.
He would have had your job. Do you want to say anything else, Ellen?
No, you know, like everybody else, I know so many people.
I know a ton of people, but they're friendly faces to me, they're kind people, but unfortunately there's never enough time to really get to know people. I do my best, but of course time isn't on my side anymore. I'll be 81 next month. But I'm trying to write a book. And these two would be in there somewhere because they were always very affable, fun people to be around, very much interested in what I was doing, and people like to be with people like that. And I see other familiar faces in this room. My ex-husband is a school teacher, so that connects me a little bit more. And, well, he's retired actually, but I think Dan was one of those guys, like you described him, maybe his nephew described him that way, but he was interested in things. He had a good life energy, a good energy.
Well,
That certainly is true.
See? She would know. Anyway, I could talk your leg off. Unfortunately, I didn't know him well enough, but I knew I could still picture him and how much he loved life and the things that he was involved with.
she was one of them.
Thank you, Ellen. That's very sweet.
Not the tunes to get my breath going.
There's G. That's it. Breath is good.
Breath is good. Ellen doesn't care about breath. She plays the piano. She singers. Thank you all for coming in. The party's not over so long as they haven't chased us out. So please stay as long as you like. And I hope I've gotten to talk to everybody. But if not, be sure I do.
Well, I got to talk to you, and that was good. It's very nice. This is a good friend of mine who has MS. She really can't get out of it much. And she did tell me she was starting to have trouble getting out of bed by herself. So that's she just is so normal in what she's doing. She's a very just She's probably in her late 30s, and I am